I haven't really gotten too deep into Monster Hunter, to be honest. The only time I ever remember playing anything related to Monster Hunter was when Peace Walker came out and had this crossover missions. That was about as far as I could get into Monster Hunter at all. So once Monster Hunter World came out and I saw all that stuff, I was like, I need to get into that and see what all that's about. So this is what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be going through all the stuff that happened during the beta that happened, and what I thought about the game as a person that never played Monster Hunter before, and give my 2 cents on it. That's basically the whole point. So, got some few notes here, so let's go right into it. The positives that the beta had are that, for one, the classes in the game that they let you make with all the different weapons and gear and mantles and all that crap, like, it seems very intuitive and very in-depth. Like, there's a lot of combinations that you could do. That's something that you don't see a lot in most games. They keep simplifying it and dumbing things down, while this actually seems to keep in line with what the series has made, according to my veteran Monster Hunter friends that play the game. According to them, the game still has a lot of the classes and weapons from the normal games. Not much is different there. If there is, they didn't tell me, but most of the weapons seem to be in line with the other games. Obviously, the game looks a lot better, though. So there's one thing to keep in mind, and that the game has enough variety and stuff that it'll keep you engaged to some degree. My one pet peeve with the way the weapons work is that there's not a lot of combo variation to them. It's very simplistic for this type of presentation that the game is giving out. Like, it's very simple, but I'm pretty sure that people will figure out tricks, environmental tricks with them, and because it's not just the weapon you use, it's where and how you use it as well. Because obviously you can mount monsters on certain angles, like certain weapons can do it faster, others can't. Others like stagger, others do more aggro. You know, little things like that make the weapon much more than just the way you attack with it. You have to be way more focused on what you're actually trying to do with it. So each weapon can be played a specific way and opens up a lot more doors in that fact. Another thing that was really good about the beta was just how open the missions were. There were only 3 missions in the beta, but just from those 3 you can get a really good idea of how the open world nature of Monster Hunter World was going to be.
I can't remember. Hold on.
I love the landscapes in these games. Especially now that I can look at it, at least in better frames.
I mean, you can pretty much go anywhere in these places. Like, all you have to do is find one monster, but here you go. Have this open sandbox and just go. Like, you could kill other monsters. You could find, like, secret monsters that you might be able to beat before you fight the main one that are actually harder. Like, of course, you have the whole thing with the time limit, but in the full game, there's actually going to be an extension to that time limit that you can do. So, all this stuff that is here is actually going to be pretty accessible to a certain degree. Like, it's pretty fun to explore these worlds, to be honest. Like, once we beat all the missions, we went back and explored the whole map and see where everything was and see what secrets there were. So, while I don't think there's going to be super, like, I don't know, like, it's not going to be crazy, like secrets, I think. Like, it's not going to be, like, really, like, hard to find shit that you're going to be exploring the map and be like, oh, I didn't know that this was here. It seems very manageable. It seems big enough, and exploring it doesn't seem to yield much reward, but you can do it, and the game doesn't penalize you for it other than in the time limit, I guess, and harder missions you won't have much time to do that. But other than that, the open world nature of the missions is great. the way you have to find and track monsters is also very interesting, because unless you know where they spawn, because it kind of seems like the spawn point is the same place every time, which I don't like. But if you don't know where they are, the act of tracking them down is very, very interesting, and you could be misled and taken about into different areas that you didn't know, and like tracking them can be a bit difficult. But once you know where they spawn, it becomes pretty easy. In fact, the mission becomes so easy that you can beat it pretty quickly. But the one negative, the biggest negative that I have to say about all this is that it's not an open world game. I know that not a lot of people like open world games these days, not anymore. Like, it's become this sort of cliche. But when you got a game called Monster Hunter World, you know, excuse me for getting the wrong idea, right? As a guy that never played Monster Hunter at all, like, I thought this shit was gonna be open world. I thought it was gonna be, like, the trailer made it look like it was gonna be huge. Not to say that the way the game is in its current state isn't big. It is. Like, it actually is. But I don't know, I feel kind of misled a little bit. And, you know, that was my one negative that I had for that specific thing. But the biggest positive that I had to come out of the game as a first timer, I guess you could say, is the fact that the game has plenty of charm to it. Like, this game is downright adorable in certain cases.
I can't stand up anymore. I'm stuck.
Just press circle.
Oh, I was pressing X to stand up, but it made me press... Oh, wait, am I drunk? Wow, you actually get drunk.
Great, now we have to carry Fee over.
Oh my god, what the hell? What am I doing? I'm doing like a pose, like, yeah.
Sonny, you're gonna have to help me out. These two fuckers are drunk. Oh, there goes Fee, he's up.
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
No, I've had some bad memories in places like this in past Monster Hunter games.
Yeah. Also, yes, you can, it looks like, Fee, because I just saw you do that.
What?
You just went swoosh.
Paralyzed. You'll have to wait for it to wear off.
Oh, what the hell?
Not that you have a choice.
Oh, yeah, Rose is right. Look at that. I just see you guys just like...
I look like a seizure on the floor.
Like, the stuff that you can do in it is pretty funny. Like, the way you interact with certain things is also cool. Some of the monsters that can screw you over are also very interesting. Like, all over. This game has plenty of charm, and I already had a glimpse of that in Peace Walker. It's clearly a fun time. Only difference now is that the graphics have been made super realistic, and it kind of has this sort of balance of realistic looking world with really cartoonish elements that just make it really enjoyable to play. It's not my top favorite, right? But it makes me enjoy what I'm looking at and what I'm doing, at least some degree. The one negative to that, though, is that there's not much to do in the world. Like, you'd think there would be a lot more clever, funny stuff that you can interact with in the world, but no, it's mostly just monster hunting. Like, the rest of the stuff doesn't really do much. I mean, sure, me and my friends can just sit around the log or whatever, or the trees, and just start drinking and eating to our heart's content. But eventually the time will run out, and we can't do that all the time, so... You won't see this type of stuff happening all too often. But then again, the whole point of the game is to hunt monsters, so why would you want to fish or gather or do anything other than that? I don't know. But maybe that's just me. Like, I like games that add a lot more to just the base mechanic, because at this point those types of games are just boring. There's plenty of those games now. Like there needs to be something more to draw my attention. Maybe I'm just entitled. I don't know. Also, real quick, what is it with this veggie platter? I don't know about you, but there's plenty of meat there. It seems kind of kind of misleading. I mean, come on, lady. There's clearly meat on there. Way more than there should be. My immersion is dying over here. The final point that I do have to say about the beta, though, it is a little bit to do with the combat. Despite how intuitive and interesting the combat is to a certain degree, there seems to be a lot of staggering involved. Like, once your character gets hit, you get locked in place a lot of the time, and you just get rammed over and over. At least that's what it was for one of my friends that just couldn't really play at all, being a tank and getting aggroed a lot. He just couldn't do anything. Even when using a weapon that is supposed to allow you to block and like receive damage and mitigate it, like he was just being knocked all over the place. He just kept losing a ton of health over and over and over again. Of course, once the final game comes out, we might see a lot of differences in how weapons work and maybe rarities or stuff. I don't know how the crafting works in Monster Hunter, but the way this type of stuff works, and if it's anything like Peace Walker that tried to emulate it, where different monsters can give actual like sets of stuff, then you know obviously there's probably going to be actual armor sets and weapons that really distinguish and separate the gameplay, and even ones that help with staggering effects, because apparently that was way too high in the beta. For a first time playing Monster Hunter, I can sort of see why people like it. I certainly had a good time, but it didn't exactly blow me away at the same time. I sort of left the beta wanting more. And no, it's not just me saying I want to play the full game, I just wanted more stuff to do in the beta. Like, I wanted to see more than just monster hunting, because sure, the monster hunting part is fun, but I don't know, there's so many games that offer much more these days. And I just kind of left wanting more. It's like I said earlier, if maybe I'm just entitled, who knows? But that's how I felt about this beta. And right now, Monster Hunter World seems like it's not going to be a game that I'm going to be purchasing day one. It was a fun game, but I don't know, I feel like it's missing a lot to really draw my attention. But maybe once it's on sale, I'll get it and see what it's all about in the full game. But until then, that's going to wrap up my impressions. I'll see you guys next time.